Hi guys, Stacey Awino here. Welcome to your number one motivational channel. If you're new here, welcome. If you're watching this video and you've been on this channel before, welcome back. So in this video, I wanted to share something that I know a lot of us go through, and that is the fear of getting started and the fear of failure and overcoming obstacles to reach your goals. And while sharing about this, I wanted to give an example of how difficult it was for me to start this YouTube channel. Actually, what happened was how I started recording. There was a time I was supposed to have a radio interview with Pastor James Okumu from Family Media. And I had been interviewed at Family Radio before, and this time around I was being interviewed by him at Radio 316. So a couple of weeks before the interview, he called me over just to catch up with him. And one of the things he asked me was, we were just talking about what I've done with my motivational speaking and sharing my story. And I told him, I haven't gotten to spread the word much about what I do because I don't have the resources and all that. And I remember him looking at me and telling me, but you have social media, right? And I was like, yes. Like, you have Facebook and Instagram. I was like, yes. And he told me, then why don't you use that? Why don't you just record videos and share? Why don't you use Facebook Live? And I was like, I've never really thought about that. I always thought, I need to have money so that I can do Google ads and I can do all these advertisements, even if it's just on social media, but I needed resources to do that. And he was like, just choose what you have. And there's a lot of free resources right now, especially when it comes to social media, for you to spread the word. So why don't you do that? So I had a couple of weeks in between, a couple of days, I think, in between then and my interview. So I made sure by the time I was going for my interview, I had done a couple of live videos on Facebook and posted them. And when we met again, I was like, hey, Pastor James, thank you so much for your advice. I actually took it and I did a couple of Facebook live videos. And he was like, oh yeah, that's great, keep at it. And I did for a while, until I got sick. I got really, really sick. I'll share that story in another video. But what happened was I was diagnosed with pulmonary embolism, which is basically clots in the lungs that move from mostly the legs or a different part of the body and get lodged in your arteries and stop you from breathing or just end everything. Luckily I survived it, but something about that just killed something in me. And when I go back home, I remember telling myself, just give yourself time to recover. But even after I recovered, I just never got the courage to get back and record for a while. And the other thing I was struggling with was, and every time I tell people, they look at me like, no, you're not. I am an introvert. I like keeping to myself. I know right now you're looking at me like I'm crazy, but it's true. I am an introvert, and this is just one of the things I have to fight every time when I have to sit in front of the camera or I have to stand in front of a crowd and speak, because I would so rather not. But speaking is something that I feel like is a burden that has been placed in my heart, that I have to share my story. And when I see someone who's struggling with something, I always feel like I have to motivate them, I have to encourage them, I have to pray for them, I have to, be there somehow. So for me, this is just something like God is just like, that's your assignment. So for me, it's more like an assignment. That's why I get out here and do what I do. So I was struggling with being an introvert as well. So I recovered, and at some point I was like, you know what? I'm getting back on my feet. So I bought a camera. When I was buying this camera, I was broke. So I was on a budget. And I bought a cheap camera that did me no good. I wasted my money. and I couldn't use it because the picture quality was bad, the sound quality was bad. So I just ended up discarding it. And eventually I came into some money again, and I couldn't use my phone camera because it also wasn't of really good quality. I tried recording and I posted it on YouTube, and I just had to take it down because I was like, this is not the level of work I wanted to put out. So eventually I came into some money and I invested in the good camera that I'm using right now. But then after getting this camera, I also realized that I needed to invest in sound, a good mic, which I'm still working on, but I do have a microphone. Sometimes it fails me, but sometimes it works just fine. And I also got a ring light so that the picture quality can be a bit good. And I had to really sacrifice to spend money on these things because they don't come cheap. So I bought these things, and I now had the burden to start recording. But then the thing is, I just never really felt like my work was good enough. So I was anxious every time I'd sit in front of the camera. I used to feel like I'm gonna lose my breath. I can't breathe. And after I would record, I'd be like, no, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. And I'd take it down. I'd just delete it. I wouldn't even post it. So I did this for a while. I think I've deleted about 50 videos since I started recording. Like, it's just something I would do, and then I just feel like it's not good enough to share, and I delete. So I went through a period of just researching and rehearsing, and I planned, and eventually I just decided, you know what, Stacey, you're gonna have to just put it out there. Those people who have gotten to where they've gotten to, they didn't get there in one day. It takes time. You practice and you build on it. Like, I give myself a whole pep talk. You practice and you build on it, and practice will make perfect. So that's when eventually I did the video that I eventually posted as my first video, which was my disability journey. So I did it and I just posted, and I was like, oh, you know, that's one hurdle that I've overcome. So my new challenge became editing, and I'm not very good at it. I'm still working on it, and eventually I hope I'll be able to get a team to work with, because it really costs a lot to get people to work with you on this project. Actually, a lot of people who blog do it by themselves. The good thing is there's a lot of information online about blogging, so every once in a while I just go online and do my research, and I learn a new technique and I learn a new thing. But then I'd also like to just focus on my content. So eventually I would love to work with people who, you know, can just help me develop and grow even further than where I am. But then, having gone through all that to get to here, I feel like I can now boldly come before you and tell you to just get started. You know, that bakery that you've always wanted to start. Just start baking from the house, you know. Bake for your friends and family. Let them give you feedback. That writing that you've always wanted to put out there, write, share, see what feedback you get, you know, build from there. That song you've always wanted to sing, you know, just get started. There are a couple of people who are lucky enough to get started like this and just hit, but then there's some of us who have to build onto our craft, and that's also just fine. It's only natural for it to happen like that. And since I have that experience, I know that some of the challenges that you may face, and I'd like to list them, and maybe you can just go through them so that you check out your list and see what you can do about it. Some of the challenges that you may face may be fear of failure and self-doubt. This one was a big thing for me. I felt like, you know, what if I start and I fail? What if it's so bad? What if people tell me I'm horrible at it? And the one thing I'll tell you is never take advice from someone who's not trying, because the people who bash you the most are the people who see some shortcomings in themselves and they project them onto you. So the people who are doing things out there will encourage you, will give you tips, will try and help you up. But the people who are not doing anything are the ones who give you the harshest words, and those are the people you should listen the least to. So do not be afraid to fail. I have failed so many times, but every time you fail, you get up. But the most important lesson about failing is learning something from what went wrong, what did not work. Then you build on that and you get better. The second thing is lack of support. A lot of times we don't get started because the people around us do not support us. They do not believe in our dream. They do not see what we see. Sometimes you say you want to do something and people just look at you like, hey, that doesn't make sense. No, you cannot make money from that. That will definitely not work. I know someone who tried it and it did not work for them. If it did not work for them, then it will not work for you. And what I'd say is sometimes don't really share what you're trying to do. Share with the people you can consult, people who can build you up. And if they give you a reason it will not work out, then they give you like good reason from experience, not just from hearsay. I always try and consult people who can give me constructive criticism, not just people who have an opinion, basically. So sometimes I'd say be your own cheerleader. Don't look for support outside, because sometimes you have to be a lone ranger to achieve your goals. Sometimes you have to be the only one who believes in your dream. Look at the people who invented things. Those things did not exist before they invented them, but then they believed in the ideas that they had. Look at the Wright brothers, believing that you can fly in the sky when during that time there was nothing like that had happened. The guy who invented electricity, please, I have bad memory, give me a break. But the person who invented electricity, the person who invented a camera, who decided, you know what, I can capture this moment somehow. Those are things that did not exist before, but they had those ideas. And if they only waited for people to believe in those ideas with them, they would not get anywhere. The third thing is lack of finances. Sometimes that can severely affect your dream or your goal, but then sometimes there are ways to cut around it. I know I'm one of those people who like starting big. If I wanted to be a baker, I would want to start with a nice bakery, like a nice store and equipment and all that. But there are people who start baking from their houses with Jikos, and they just do that and they learn how to decorate, basic decorating, and then they get better with time and they get their clients and they grow. But then if you sit around waiting for the day you'll be able to have a store in a posh place with equipment and be able to hire people and pay them from scratch, you may never get there. So sometimes lack of finances may just be a hindrance in our minds. Sometimes it is possible to start with very little. So look into that and see how basic you can start. I know sometimes it's good to start from the middle, not very low, because you may not be able to actually grow from there, but sometimes it is possible to grow from the very bottom. So just do your research and just try it out and see how it goes. Another thing is time. I have a full-time job, so sometimes it is difficult to make time to record. It's actually a sacrifice to use my off day to do something else. But then if you feel really dedicated, I remember once I was listening to Dr. Miles Monroe, and he was saying he thinks of an 8 to 5 as just the beginning. Then after that 8 to 5, then you do something else if you're trying to get somewhere. And I'd say if you're trying to do something, make time for it. The time will never be enough. Everybody has 24 hours. Those people who are doing great things, they also have 24 hours. So look for that time. Another thing I'd say is lack of experience, which is it touches on what I've spoken about before. That experience comes with practice, and the things that maybe you have to get certification for, then get that. If you have to get maybe an internship and work for someone else to get there, then do that. But then don't say you don't have experience and just stop from there. Work on getting that experience. You will get there. It may take 10 years, but then 10 years will come and go when you're seated there saying you don't have that 10 years experience. So start getting that experience right now. Lack of skill comes from practice. I did not know how to upload videos on YouTube. The many times I tried in the beginning, I failed so horribly. But then I would keep trying, and I'd keep recording, and I'd keep, checking and researching. And I've gotten to a point where I can at least upload an average quality video, and I will grow from here. Of course, a year from now I will not be in the same place. So with whatever it is you're trying to do, also just keep practicing and you'll get better at it. The other fear we normally have is fear of getting out of our comfort zones, and it's something that you just have to push yourself. No one else can do this for you. You can't just expect to be comfortable to do things. Like I said, I'm an introvert, but in order for me to achieve what I want to achieve with sharing my story and speaking, I have to get out of my comfort zone, and I have to do it every time I have to do this. So get out of your comfort zone, push yourself. That's where the good things are. And lastly, getting the right help. This is just something you have to, the things you'll have to learn to do for yourself, and the things that you'll have to get expert opinion on or get some people to work on. Once you get started, it's easier to get in touch with these people as opposed to, oh, you're still thinking about it. When you are working, it's easier to get these connections as opposed to when it's still an idea in your head. So with all that, what I can just say is get started. Just get started. See what happens. There's this quote, I think it's a quote that was something like, what if it doesn't go right, but then what if it does? So always think on the brighter side. Try and reduce on the negativity, and you'll be surprised what you can do. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. And I do motivational speaking. If you'd like me to speak at your event, please get in touch with me on any of my social media platforms, or send me an email at stacyawino@gmail.com. Thank you for watching. Bye.